Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see you. My name is Shane. Hello, Barking Folk Festival. Normally you might find me in the grounds of the Abbey on the green there, in the tent or the teepee or the yurt, depending on what year it is, and I tell stories. Can you see my sign above my head? Storytelling. You may have seen the sign at the festival. This year, as you know, we can't see each other on the green, but I'm sure it'll be back next year bigger and better than it's ever been before. It's always a lot of fun for me. I love doing it. This is my 4th year, I believe, and I love meeting all of you people, and you're always very good story listeners. Probably my favourite place to tell stories. You're such, and that's not a fib, you are such good story listeners. I absolutely love coming to tell folk and fairy tales there. You may have seen my hat. Thank you. It's my collection of feathers. Yes, yes. And I'm going to take it off because it can get rather hot, so I'm going to take my storytelling hat off for you. Now, what story? That is always the question, and I like to look at the audience, and I'm going to imagine all of you, and I'm imagining what story that you might want, and while I think about it, I'm just going to play the mouth harp. I think I can hear a story in the air. It's coming in, it's coming in, it's coming in. It's a story about a dragon from long ago. And the dragon lived up on a mountainside, all alone in a cave. And he was lonely. Truth be known, he was a little bit sad, for all the villagers down below in the valley were scared of him. They feared him because he was a dragon. They didn't know him. They didn't realise that he was a nice, friendly dragon. They just feared him because sometimes if he hiccuped, a ball of flames would come out. And if he yawned, a ball of flames would come out, and they were scared of him. He looked a bit fierce. He had a mouth full of teeth and long claws. And his colour was, well, you tell me what his colour was, children. Call it out. Yes. Yes. Yeah, yes. He was all of those colours that you... Yeah, yes, he was that colour. Yes. And the people were scared of him. Now, the little village where the people lived, well, it was called Moon Valley. That's because every night the moon even, not the sun, the moon would be up in the sky at the night, shining on the valley. And it was every single night. It was before the moon went away to have a rest in the night sky, as it does sometimes. Now, there were no stars at this time. It was so long ago, there were no stars in the sky. All there was the moon every single night. And that's why the village was called Moon Valley. It was in the bottom of the valley. Well, life was pretty normal. People would go about their normal business, and children would always be outside playing and what have we. And just life just went on and on and on, and everything was good and fine. But people began to notice that at night when they were asleep, the next morning they'd wake up and there'd be something shiny and glittery and sparkly that they had that was no longer in the house. Oh, I wonder what sparkly, shiny things that you imagine went missing. Think of something that's sparkly and shiny and glittery. Just call it out. Yes. 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 Those things, they just disappeared. And the people wondered where they were. Well, I can tell you where they were. For up in the cave where the dragon lived, he was so bored and so alone and a bit sad that in the night he would creep down really quietly, really gently, and he would steal the occasional sparkly thing, the shiny thing, the glittery thing, and he would take it back to his cave and he would put it up on the walls to brighten his cave. And he would sit there looking and just, oh, the cave was all bright and shiny and sparkly and it glistened and it cheered him up. It was lovely for him. But the villagers, they thought, well, who is taking our sparkly shiny things, our glittery shiny things? And someone said, I bet it's the dragon. Well, a couple of men in the village said, well, we'll go and sort that dragon out. Come on, let's go and have a word with the dragon. And they picked up their pitchforks and their scythes and big pieces of wood, for they thought they might have to battle with the dragon. And they went up the mountainside to where the dragon's cave was. And they stood outside, and they were a bit nervous, although they didn't admit to it. But they were a bit nervous to go in. And they thought, well, we got to go inside and have a word with him. And they stepped inside, and the dragon, well, when he saw all these men with their sticks and their pitchforks, he was scared, and he let out a, oh! Well, as he did, you can imagine what happened. Can you guess? Yes, a big ball of flames went, and all the men went, whoa! And they ran out of that cave, and they ran all the way down the mountain. Whoa, that dragon is a bit scary. He threw flames all at us. He's vicious and he's angry and he wants to hurt us. Well, listening to all this, there was a little girl. She was about 8, 9 years of age. She knew that it wasn't a bad dragon. And she thought, she didn't tell anybody, she thought, I'm going to go and have a word with the dragon. So off she went up the mountainside to where the dragon lived. And she got to the entrance of the cave. And she thought, well, I'll just step in and have a word. And in she stepped. And there was the dragon in the corner of the cave, mumbling to himself, just looking at the pretty things everywhere, the sparkly, glittery, shiny things. And then he saw the little girl. And he said, oh, hello. What are you doing here? And she said, I've come to have a chat with you. Oh, come and sit down, he said. Come and sit down. She sat down beside the dragon. And he said, well, what is it you want to know? And the little girl said, well, she said, I can see by your cave, all your shiny sparkly things, that you like shiny sparkly things. Oh, indeed I do, said the dragon. And I think you might be borrowing them from us. You come down each night and you borrow them? Yes, I'm just borrowing them. So you see, I'm in this cave all alone, and I get so sad, and I feel so lonely. And to cheer me up, I like sparkly things, and I put them up on the cave, on the walls, all around me, and it helps cheer me up a little. Said the little girl. Well, the villagers, they're getting a bit concerned because all their sparkly things are being taken, and we need to come to some sort of agreement. Well, yes, said the dragon. I'm not sure what it is, said the little girl, but I'll go and have a word with the wise lady of the village, the wise woman of the village, the oldest, wisest woman in the village. Okay. See you later, said the dragon. Bye, bye. And off the girl went back down to the village. And she went to where the wise old woman lived. And she knocked on the door. And she went in. The woman invited her in. And she said, how can I help you, my dear? And the little girl told her the story all about the dragon and the sparkly things and the things that were going missing and what to do, and some of the villagers were getting a bit upset about it, and what could she do? And the wise old woman, well, she sat there, and she was thinking, and then she said, I have an idea. She said, I'll go and see the dragon tonight when it gets dark, before he comes out. I'll go and have a little word with him. Okay, said the little girl. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. And off the little girl went back home. She went to play with her friends or whatever she did, go home for a tea or something. And when night came and the moon went up in the sky and lit up that beautiful valley, the old lady put on her shawl. She got her little walking stick and she walked up, slowly up the mountain to where the dragon lived. And she got to the opening of the cave and she stepped in and she said, "Cooey, cooey, oh dragon, are you there? Cooey." And the dragon, I was having a little nap, he said, before I went out for the evening. And hello? Hello, said the old lady. I've come to help you. Have you? Said the dragon. For I am so lonely. And I know, said the old lady. And you take the bright, sparkly things, the glittery things, to brighten up your cave, to cheer yourself up. I do, said the dragon, I do. The old lady said, well, I have an idea for you. Well, what's that? Said the dragon. And she went up and she whispered in his ear. And the dragon began to smile. Oh, yes, yes, he said, yes, yes. And off the lady went, the old lady went back down to her home. Well, that evening, instead of the dragon going to the village to take some more sparkly, shiny things, well, to borrow some more sparkly, shiny things, he took them all down off his cave. And he took them outside and there was a big pile of sparkly, shiny, glittery things. And then he took an armful at a time and he flew up high into the sky. And he began to put those sparkly, shiny things up into the sky. And they became... Yes. What do you think they became? Yes. They became stars. Lots and lots, thousands of stars were sparkling and shining in the sky. It was beautiful. And it meant that the moon could go home to have a rest. And that's why sometimes there's no moon in the sky. The moon has gone to its own home to have a rest, and it leaves the stars to sparkle and shine and light up the sky. And as for the dragon, well, after that, once the villagers had heard that a little girl had been up there and chatted to the dragon, and they realised that he was actually friendly, well, after that, the villagers would take up a little parcel of food, or a little present, or a little sparkly something that they didn't want anymore, and they would leave them outside the cave for the dragon. And after that, well, the dragon and the villagers, they were always happy with each other. And that's the story of the dragon and Moon Valley. Thank you. Thank you. Just going to have a drink of water. Now that is quite a new story for me. I heard it by somebody who told it online, and I can't remember her name actually. And I said, could I borrow that? Could I have that story to tell? And she said, of course, please go and tell it. And now, of course, you now have permission to go and tell that story wherever you want, to your friends or to your mother, your father, your grandma, your granddad, your auntie, your uncle, your best friend, or just someone. Just go and tell that story. Right. Let's put my hat back on because I need to summon another story for you to listen to. Now, I think I know which story it's going to be. It's one of my new favourite stories. I heard it from a man, another storyteller called Gary Cordingley. And he told this story and I thought, oh, I really like that story. And I had a chat with him and he gave me permission to tell this story. Now, the stories don't really belong to anybody, but it's always good, in fact, to ask a storyteller, if you're going to tell a story that you heard them tell, could I tell that? And Gary said, yes, of course you can, Shane. So I'm going to take my hat off before I begin. Put it down. Well, this is a story from a long, long time ago, when people didn't have very much at all. Most people were, in fact, very poor, and the land was ruled by a king. But this is the story about a little boy who was maybe about 8 years of age, 9 perhaps. His name was Jack, and he lived with his grandma. Now, it's not the story that you might be thinking. It's not the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. This is another adventure that he went on. Well, as I say, times were really poor, and they had almost no food, and they had no money. And Jack's grandma said, "Jack, would you go out to the barn and just get a handful of oats, and I'll cook you something to eat, maybe some flapjacks, maybe some porridge, or something with some oats. But be careful, because we haven't got much left at all, and I've got no more money." "I'll be careful," he said to Grandma. And he went out into the barn, and he looked in the sack, and he could see that there wasn't much left. So he took a handful of oats, and he stepped out the door of the barn, and whew, the wind came and blew all the oats out of his hands. He went, "Oh, it's blown all the oats out of my hands, and we haven't got much." Well, he went back into the barn, and he put his hands in the sack again, and he pulled out a second handful, and he looked, well, there's not much left. I better be really, really careful. And he went to the door, and this time he thought, He put his head out, and he looked to the left, and he looked to the right, and it was all clear. And he stepped outside, and as soon as he did, the wind came and blew all the oats out of his hands again. He went, "Oh, I don't believe it. It's done it again." And he went back into the barn, and he looked into the sack, and he could see that there was only one big handful left. And he took that out, and he thought, "I'm going to have to be extra, extra, extra careful." And he walked to the door with that handful of oats. "Oh, I must be careful," he thought. And he looked out the door, and he looked to the left. He looked to the right. He looked to the left again. He looked to the right again. It was all clear. He stepped outside. All the oats had gone out of his hands. He went, I don't believe it. We've got nothing left." And he went inside to Grandma. He said, Grandma, I don't believe it." He said, "The wind has come and blown the oats out of my hands 3 times, and now we have nothing left to eat." Oh, said Grandma, "that will be the North Wind, Jack." "Where does he live?" said Jack. Why is that, Jack? Why do you need to know where the North Wind lives?" "I'm going to go and have a word with him." "Oh, Jack, she said, "the North Wind, he is so far away from here. He lives on the edge of the earth." "Well, I'm going to go," said Jack. Before Grandma could say anything else, Jack was gone. And he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. He thought, "I'm going to have a word with that North Wind." And he walked, 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 and he walked. It was a long way. He walked, and he walked, and he walked. Are we there yet, do you think? We're not. No, he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. And he eventually got to where the North Wind lived. And he knocked on the North Wind's door. And the North Wind opened the door. "Oh, hello, Jack. How good to see you. Why have you come to see me so far?" Jack said, "North Wind, you have come and blown the oats out of my hands 3 times. We have nothing left to eat. We've got no money, and we will starve." "Oh," said the North Wind. "I'm sorry to hear that. Wait there, Jack. I have something for you." And the North Wind went into his house. Jack could hear the rumbling and noise, or whatever, some noise of the North Wind doing something. And the North Wind came back and said, "Here, Jack, this is for you." And he had a tablecloth. And the North Wind said, "It is a magic tablecloth. Just unfold it and say, 'Cloth, cloth, food, food,' and all manner of food will just appear for you." "Oh, thank you," said Jack. "Thank you." And he put it under his arm, and off he went, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. Well, he'd done so much walking that day, his legs were really, really tired, and it was getting late. And he came across an inn, a bit like a pub, but somewhere where you could sleep for the night and put your horses in the back and things like that. That's how it was long ago. And Jack went in, And the innkeeper saw him and said, "Ah, hello, young man. Would you like something to eat?" And Jack said, "No, I've got my own food." And the innkeeper could see that all he had was a tablecloth. And Jack said, "You watch this." And Jack unfolded the tablecloth on the table and he said, "Cloth, cloth, food, food." And suddenly, all this food appeared. Well, what do you imagine appeared? Call out. Tell me what food? Yes, there was a big bowl of that. Yes, that as well. And there was all those things you're calling out. That they were all there. And Jack had a lovely meal. Well, the innkeeper, he saw it and he thought, I'm going to steal that when he's asleep. Well, Jack finished his meal and it was time for bed, and he went upstairs and he took the tablecloth with him and he put it on the chair beside the bed, and Jack got into bed and he fell fast asleep really quickly because he was so tired. The innkeeper went to his cupboard where he kept his tablecloths. He found one that looked near enough the same, and he took it and he snuck up the stairs, opened the door, walked across the room, swapped them over while Jack was asleep. In the morning, Jack woke up. He was all excited to see his grandma, to show him what he had, and he picked up his tablecloth and he didn't notice. And he walked home as fast as he possibly could, and he got back home. And he said, "Hello, Grandma." And Grandma said, "Hello, Jack. How did you get on, Jack?" "Oh, Grandma, I have this special cloth. It's magical. It will just magic any food that we want, time and time again." "Oh, Jack," she said, "you and your little fibs," she said, "you and your tall tales. What am I to do with you?" "No, Grandma, watch." And he unfolded it on the table and he said, "Cloth, cloth, food, food." Nothing happened. He said, "Cloth, cloth, food, food." Nothing happened. Grandma said, "Oh, Jack, you and your tall tales, what am I to do with you?" Jack said, "It's that north wind. He's tricked me. I'm going back there to see him." And before Grandma could say anything, he was gone. And he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked a bit faster this time. He walked and he walked and he was a little bit cross. And he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked. Are we there yet? We're not. Carried on walking. He walked and he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked. And he eventually got to where the north wind did. He knocked on the door a bit louder this time, and the north wind opened the door. "Oh, how good to see you, Jack. I didn't expect to see you so soon. How can I help you?" Jack said, "It's that tablecloth you gave me. It doesn't work. We're still hungry. We still have no food. The tablecloth doesn't work." "Oh, how peculiar," said the north wind. "Wait there. I have something else for you." And the north wind was gone. And Jack could hear him rumbling around in the background doing things. And he came back and he had a goat with a rope halter around its neck, and he was bringing the goat. And he said, "Jack, this is a magical goat, just for you. If you just tweak its ear, tweak, tweak, and at the other end comes gold coins, and it never runs out." "Thank you," said Jack. And he took the halter of the goat, and he said thank you to the north wind, and waved him bye-bye, and on off he went. And he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked. Well, he'd done a lot of walking and he was really tired, and it was getting late, and he came to where the inn was once again, and he thought, "I'll have to stay here again for the night." And in he went, and you were allowed to take your goats in there in those days. You can take your dogs in to the inns these days, but in those days you could take any animal in, and he took his goat in. And the innkeeper saw it and he thought, And he said, "Would you like something to eat? Or have you got a cloth?" And Jack said, "No." He said, I have got the means to pay." And Jack ordered everything on the menu. Everything. And the innkeeper said, "Are you sure you can afford to pay for this?" And Jack said, "Oh, I can. You watch." And he tweaked the ear of the donkey, and at the other end came, ting, ting, came some gold sovereigns, some gold coins. And he paid the innkeeper. And the innkeeper thought, "I'm going to have that later." So Jack ate his food. Oh, he had everything in the restaurant. All those things that you mentioned earlier. Oh, he ate and he ate and he ate until he was full. And then it was time for bed. And he took the goat all the way up the stairs into the bedroom. And the bedroom had a fire in there, a real fire in the corner, in the fireplace, and a rug, and the goat curled up on that. And Jack went across to the bed and got himself sorted, and he laid in bed, and he was fast asleep as quick as that. The innkeeper waited until he knew he was asleep. And he went out to his own barn, where he kept his chickens and a couple of geese and a couple of goats. And the goat looked a bit like Jack, so he thought, well, that'll do. And he put a halter around its neck, and he took it in. He took it all the way up the stairs, and he opened the door, and he went in, and he swapped the two goats over. The next morning, Jack got up, really excited to get back home to show Grandma what he had, a goat that could magically produce gold coins, money. And off he went, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he got back home really quickly because he was so excited to see Grandma. And Grandma said, how did you get on, Jack? Oh, Grandma, you'll never believe this. I have a magic goat, and it can give me gold coins. Oh, Jack, she said, Jack, you and your tall tales, you've always got these tall tales. No, Grandma, it's real. It's real. Watch. And he tweaked its ear, and there was a plop, plop, plop. Can you guess what it was? Yeah, it was poop. The goat had pooped at the other end, all on Granny's floor. She went, the goat's pooped on my floor. I've only just mopped it. The goat is pooping. Get the goat outside. Get the goat outside. It's pooping all over my floor. And Jack went, well, I don't know what's gone wrong there, Grandma. It should be gold coins, and it's poop. He said, that north wind has tricked me again. I'm going to go back and see him. And before Grandma could say anything, Jack was gone. And he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked really fast now because he was more cross this time. And he walked, 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 and he got to where the north wind lived, and the north wind opened the door. Oh, I wasn't expected to see you so soon, Jack. Lovely to see you. How can I help you? That goat doesn't work. The cloth doesn't work. We've got no money, no food. What is going on? Oh, said the north wind. Wait there, Jack. I have something else for you. And he was gone. And he wasn't gone a minute, and he came back. Here is a magic stick, he said to Jack. All you have to do is say, stick, stick, beat, beat, and it will beat whoever you want it to. Jack looked at him and he thought, I don't want to beat anybody. I'm not sure how it could be helpful, but I better take it. It'll do something special. So he took the stick and he said goodbye to the north wind. Goodbye, Jack. And the north wind was gone. And Jack, well, he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked. And, well, he was really tired. He'd done there's a lot of walking in this story, and he was really tired. And he got to the inn again, and just as he was about to walk in, he stopped. And he thought, oh, hang on a minute. When I have the things that the north wind gives me, they work. When I get home, they don't work. Ha ha. Ha ha. Jack worked out what was happening. So he went in and he ordered a fine meal. And the innkeeper thought, well, he'll be able to pay for it. And then the innkeeper saw the stick and he thought, I'm going to have that stick. It's going to be special. Anyway, Jack ate his meal and he went upstairs to bed. And he put the stick right by the chair, right beside the bed. And he pretended that he was fast asleep. But he wasn't really. He was... And he was looking through his fingers. I don't know if you've ever done that, children, where you pretend you're asleep, but really you're looking through your fingers. Well, the innkeeper, he went out into his barn and he found an old stick that he had, and he thought, oh, this will do. And he went in and he crept up the stairs, opened the door. He crept across the room, and just about as he was about to get hold of the magic stick, Jack got up in bed and said, stick, stick, beat, beat, and the stick flew in the air. Well, it began to beat the man about his arms and his shoulders and on his bottom, and he was, and it was beating him, that hurts, make the stick stop, said the innkeeper. And Jack said, I will, if you give me back my magic cloth and my magic goat. I will, I will. And he said, stick, stick, stop, stop, and the stick just stopped. And the innkeeper gave him his magic cloth and he gave him his magic goat. And Jack picked the stick up And off he walked home, tablecloth under his arm, with the goat, stick under his arm, and he walked and he walked and he walked and he got back home. And Grandma said, how did you get on? And Jack went, it's really good, Grandma. He said, I have got everything now. He said, I've got the magic cloth, I've got the magic goat, and I've got an old stick. He didn't want Grandma to know what it could do. He said, I've got an old stick. So she said, oh, Jack, you and your tall tale, Jack, what am I going to do with you? No, Grandma, watch. And he unfolded the tablecloth and he said, cloth, cloth, food, food. And all this food appeared. And Grandma looked and said, Jack, we'll never go hungry again. And then he tweaked the ear of the goat and there was ching ting and there was some gold coins. Jack, she said, we will never ever be poor and hungry again. And what does the stick do, Jack? Nothing, Grandma, nothing. It's just an old stick. Well, they had a wonderful meal and they were never poor again. But do you know, if anyone ever passed by them, called in, they would always give them something to eat and drink and to be sure that they were okay. And that is the story, the true story of Jack and the North Wind. Thank you. Now, before I go, I want to say a big thank you for listening, for joining in. I've had a good time. I hope you've had a good time. Now, Barking and Dagenham have asked me to come and do this